there was security briefing on His Excellency, and the situation has been brought under control. There are measures that have been taken. Maybe we are going to look at this, what measures have been taken, that there are far-reaching measures that have been taken that has calmed the situation. And as I am talking to you, we have not had any incident between yesterday in the night and this morning.
All right, Honorable Commissioner, before we get into the measures that you have taken and what can be done to stop further attacks in Plateau State, we do know that even before this Saturday's attack, there have been several attacks, in communities, in these local governments. Some time ago, we had some honorable members from Plateau State who talked about their constituency and how people are being attacked in their homes at the middle of the night, by people who have been labeled unknown gunmen or whatever name they are called. And then it would appear, or it would seem as if the government has not done enough to ensure that there is no outburst, from people who feel they have been killed. Now, remember that this attack that happened on Saturday happened while people were going for mass burial of their people who have also died.
Yes, well, as a matter of fact, if we have to do comparative analysis, which some people don't want us to, but for different reasons, for reasons best known to them, but we must have a background. In the 6.5 years of the life of this administration, we have enjoyed peace to an appreciable level compared to what it was before. Crises of this nature as old as mankind, and so it is an unfortunate situation. Nobody is happy, no leader is happy about what is happening. Not to talk of His Excellency, the Governor of Plateau State, the Right Honorable Simon Bakola. Sometimes the crisis takes religious dimension, sometimes it takes political, sometimes it takes ethnic. But in this situation, it is none of the above. In this situation, it is purely an attack that was done by miscreants, and that is what happened. We don't want to, because there are news flying in the social media and even conventional media, naming communities as militia, which we as a government don't want to buy into that kind of discourse. But the unfortunate thing is that lives are being lost, properties are being lost, and we are being taken far backwards. And like as it is now, what we are supposed to be, the dividends of democracy we are supposed to be dishing to the people, is no longer. The funds have to be diverted to make sure that the peace is maintained. But we have put in institutions, like I said, for the past 6 years or 6.5 years, everybody who lives on the plateau knows that the situation has greatly improved, and it is our prayer that we'll be able to stop, if it was humanly possible, we'll be able to stop this. And I can assure you, it's because of the institutional framework which we have put in place. We came up with the Peace Building Agency, the first of its kind in the country, and we have we have strengthened our own semblance of community community policing, which is called state policing, which is called Operation Rainbow. We have also employed about 3,500 youths as police as constabularies, and have been sent to the 17 local governments to help in intelligence gathering and information gathering. And that has helped a lot. We have federal presence. We have been able to attract federal presence of the Nigeria Air Force station, Nigeria Air Force, and we have a station, Nigeria Air Force station at Kerang, for people that know Plateau State. We also have a full-fledged army barrack at Police Army Barrack at Shandam, and there's another one that is being planned for Kura Falls. So those are some of the far-reaching measures that we have taken as a government. Recently, we have provided vehicles in the past, and recently we provided 50 more Hilux vehicles and 200 motorcycles to make sure that all in a bid to make sure that we are peaceful in this state, and And that has worked for us. And because of that, we are taking aback. Everybody, every well-meaning Nigerian Plateau State indigene is taking aback that these things are happening. But we are not resting on our oars as a government. We have a responsibility. The state governor has said on public television that he takes responsibility as the chief security officer of the state and having sworn in to protect lives and property. But he can only do that to the extent to which the Constitution allows him to. Because everybody knows in this country that as a chief security officer of a state, you cannot even command the captain of the boys brigade because it is a constitutional matter. You can only fund security, but you have a limit to how you can command the troops. And so that is why we are clamoring for, in some places, state police, but in Plateau State, community policing, so that we can have the vigilante, we can have all other groups to be brought on board, because everybody knows each other in Nigeria. In Plateau State, everybody knows each other.
All right, Mr. Manjan,
a step further to, in the past, arrest community leaders.
All right.
Then they have been on bail, and as I talk to you, some people, some of those that have been on bail have been fingered to be masterminds of what is happening on the plateau. And this time around, we are going to deal with the situation decisively. And again, I know people will ask, well, you're sounding like a broken record. Yes, they are right to say that, because if you see a crime being perpetrated, it is because there has been no justice done, or justice has been delayed. And in this case, the governor has given marching orders to the security. The security is doing quite well on the plateau.
All right.
GOC
Mr. Manjan
has come out and has put up statements to assure that the situation will be brought under control, and it has. There are people that have been arrested in the past. They are arrested now. What people want to see is that they are taken to court and they are pronounced as guilty if they are proven to be guilty, and then
all right.
we take
can you just and then can you just pause a bit and take this question?
Like on the plateau now, we have
Mr. Majang,
land grabbing, because you were talking about land grabbing. We have an anti-land grabbing law. The authorities have to take charge. The governor cannot.
Honorable Commissioner, can you hear us?
The security would do, and the security cannot do what the judiciary would do. We have a law that has been signed by His Excellency, the Governor of Plateau State, on anti-kidnapping, which attracts death penalty. But as I am talking to you, nobody has been arraigned before the court of law, even though
from what you're saying,
the suspects have been arrested.
Can you just pause a bit?
People want to see that when these arrests are made, they are taken to court, and the court judge, and if anybody is found guilty of kidnapping, of any other crime that has been stipulated under that law, and it is now left for whoever is going to apply those rules to make sure that the people get justice. All we are talking about is about justice.
All right.
Once people see that justice is delivered, they would be home. And above all, we must eschew
Mr. Manjan, just pause a bit and take
religion.
Good.
Of ethnicity.
The issue of justice is important, but let's hear from you. The people from these communities for the past 3 weeks or 4 weeks have been complaining of attacks in their communities. Did the state government receive any report from members of communities, affected communities, that they have been attacked, their crops have been destroyed, thousands of hectares of land have been taken over by suspected herdsmen? Did you receive that report as a state government from the community members?
Yes, we have been receiving those reports. We have been receiving reports from Irigwe, local government, where I come from. We have been receiving reports from Barkin Ladi, local government. We have been receiving reports from Basa local government.
What have you done about the reports you've been receiving? What have you done about them?
We are not dismissing them.
Yes. What have you done about those reports that you've been receiving?
Pardon?
What has the state government done about those reports? Those reports of attacks on communities which you said the government has received.
Yes, you know, these issues are being dealt with. They came recently, and in the interim, what we do as a government is to make sure that we look at we segment the solutions. One of the solutions is immediate. Look at what for people that have been displaced, for people whose farmlands have been destroyed. They are the solutions are segmented. Some will be short term, some will be long term. And unless the proper profiling is done, I want to assure people that whose farmlands have been destroyed, whose homes have been destroyed, that government will step in. We have the State Emergency Management Agency, which will also appeal to the Federal Emergency Management Agency to step in. We have stepped in the past. We are stepping in now.
Did you identify who these persons attacking those communities, including your community, Riyam, and other places, Miyangi, Irigwe communities in Just North? Did you identify who these persons are?
In recent times, like I told you in the past, there are people that have been arrested, community leaders have been arrested, and they are being prosecuted.
Are community leaders attacking their own communities?
Various levels of prosecution.
Are community leaders attacking their own communities? Because what the community members are saying, most of them are saying that the people attacking their communities and sacking them from their farmlands are, you know, foreign herdsmen, armed herdsmen that have been synonymous with those who have been attacking communities in elsewhere in the Middle Belt.
Excuse me, you see, that is where the problem lies. It is very difficult for you to, at this moment, without referring to the judiciary, to the courts, to be able to say. All what we are saying as a government is that His Excellency, in the past we used to say unknown gunmen, but the governor has said no, it is not possible. These people are not spirits, they are human beings. That was why the community leaders were arrested. There was an order given by the governor to say that anywhere an attack is done, anywhere the crime is performed, the community leaders should be arrested, and then because certainly they are from communities, and if you don't know them, then if there are stranger elements among them, these stranger elements would easily be found out. And so, as a matter of fact, when you begin to label people without getting to the root cause of it, then you might.
So on that score,
proven beyond reasonable doubt, we agree it is people that are doing this, but we wouldn't want to label people as a government at this point in time.
On that score, you would also disagree with the statement by the police over the attack that happened on Saturday, that it was suspected Irigwe youths that attacked the bus and which killed 21 people. You also disagree with that statement?
That was very, very hasty. Whoever said that is hasty. If you had the Commissioner of Police in his briefing yesterday said it was miscreant, it will be hasty for anybody to jump into conclusion and say it was Irigwe youth. And in fact, it's very derogatory. Some people have started naming the Irigwe as militia, which is we as a government do not share in that kind of sentiment. We wait for the profiling, we wait for the decision that has been taken. If it is taken by the low courts, we go by it. Whatever the courts say is what we will work with. But at this point, if something happens and then you begin to level people as a government, we don't share in that kind of sentiments. All we are saying is that we want peace on the plateau. We don't want name calling. If youths are found culpable, they should be dealt with according to the law. If other ethnic nationalities are found culpable, they should be dealt with in accordance with the law. But it is hasty and to be able to begin to label the people and say, it is Fulani that have done this, it is Irigwe that has done this, it is Birom that have done this, when you have not gotten to the bottom of the root cause of the matter.
And many would ask, Honorable Commissioner, how long will it take for investigation to be concluded? Because for all we know, this attack in Plateau didn't start today, and it has continued even under your government. So many people are asking, will it take you a whole year to find out who the people who are killing are? Otherwise, there will never be peace, and the killings will continue. But we leave you there, and we do hope that the killings would stop, because we are even hearing from our correspondents in Plateau State this morning that there has been reprisal attack, in some of those communities.
Yeah, about 3 students killed.
Could you confirm that about 3 students from University of Jos have been killed already? Could you confirm that to us, please, before you go?
University of Jos?
Yes. That about 3 students have been killed.
As of this morning, I don't have any information, but that we'll find out. And if I do find out that there are reprisal attacks at the University of Jos, we'll put it in the public domain. I can assure you that.
Okay, before we go to the security analysts who will be analyzing the issues and the things happening in Plateau and how they can be resolved, let's first get the view of the Publicity Secretary, Jamaatul Nasrul Islam, JNI, that's Mohammed Sani Moody, who is also the co-chair of Interfaith Dialogue and Peace Forum. Thank you for joining us. Could you lead us? Yeah, could you lead us into what is happening in Plateau State when you received the news of this recent attack on Saturday? What was your immediate reaction?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. You can go ahead, please. Did you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so did you hear the question?
Okay. The incidents of Saturday, 14th of August was very unfortunate, very, very sad. We in the JNI Plateau State and the entire Muslim Ummah received the reports of that dastardly act of murder of innocent Muslim travelers with great shock and disbelief. We never expected such a heinous act, at that particular moment. What happened actually was that some innocent travelers were coming from Bauchi State back to their base in Ondo State, most of whom happened to be Muslims. In all the vehicles, the 5 vehicles containing 92 persons, only 2 of the drivers were Christians, but the entire 90 were Muslims, 2 drivers and the other passengers in the vehicles. And they were attacked when they met a procession of angry youths and unfortunately elders from a particular community carrying corpses on a procession that is about 20 kilometers or so, which is unbelievable. And when we received the news, we immediately convened a meeting to see how we can control the situation to avoid spreading to other parts of the city. And alhamdulillah, we were able to do that. We had the cooperation of government officials, the secretary to the state government, the security agencies, all gave us their own support and cooperation to do the needful, in those trying moments for us. It was a very difficult moment. And of course, we cannot avoid telling the truth in these circumstances, even though we need to reconcile, move ahead in the interest of the peace and well-being of the state and the country. But the fact is that something happened. It was committed. It was a crime committed by some people, and these people have leaders. These groups have leaders. It's a procession that was being led by people that were supposed to be leaders, people that were supposed to show exemplary conduct in leadership, people that were supposed to show tolerance and accommodation, people that were supposed to guide the youths. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. So our candid opinion is that, or our view is that, in trying to get to the root cause of this matter, the leaders of that procession should first be identified and be made to account for what happened on that day. This is our candid opinion. For every activity happening, there are leaders, there are organizers, and they are there. They are well known. We know those who always, are in the forefront talking on behalf of those communities. We know those who always are in the forefront claiming they are leaders of those communities. They should be identified. They should be made to account for it. And then, of course, that way, we start moving ahead towards genuine, peace and reconciliation.
Now, aggregating all of these comments that has been coming in from the state government in Plateau State and also from the grieving government, if I were to use that word, in Ondo State, what would you say could have been responsible, or who would you say could have been responsible? Or is it even possible to point a finger at this time on who could have been responsible for these killings?
Well, we accept the fact that there must be investigations and there is the need to avoid jumping into conclusions. But for every crime committed, there are circumstances. And in those circumstances, it is possible to say A and B were at the scene of the crime. And when you are putting evidence together, you don't run away from that. You don't avoid that. Of course, that is what the law, you have circumstantial evidences for crimes, and then you don't run away. You don't say this is immaterial or irrelevant. You have to start building from those evidences that are there on the scene. And that evidence points to the fact that the Irigwe were on a procession. Let me tell you, when these people came into Jos City, they passed through a large area that mostly covers Christian areas. Nobody touched them. Nobody touched them. Why? Now that it has happened at the scene of, convergence, or when they met this process, those in procession, you cannot run away from that. We must accept that. However, let me tell you that even in the Irigwe community, it's a community that there are Muslims in that community. Not long ago, the paramount ruler of that community was a Muslim. You can understand this point. In the Fulani community, there are Christians, even though not any of them was in that particular place at that point. The fact that the government is calling for caution because of the restiveness that prevails in that area doesn't mean that citizens are not allowed to move freely in those areas. Of course, you can't curtail movement simply because some people have decided to make it impossible for others to exercise their right of free movement. No, the security agencies and the government are there to ensure protection of those rights of people, innocent people moving around, and guarantee them their right to free movement. So it doesn't mean that the government is calling for caution and saying that people should not move around that area.
All right.
On the 3rd of August, an incident happened not far from that area in the night when some people were attacked. On the 5th, that's 2 days after, the JNI issued a press statement calling on government and the security agencies to look at the issue of those communities around that area, or in Basa local government area in particular. We condemn the attempt to reignite conflict in Jos North. That was just, to remind government that it has a responsibility. These conflicts have been happening over a long time in Plateau, and there are early, warning signs whenever things are happening. When we saw things happening around that area, we said, okay, there is need for all to do what, is necessary to avert a clash in that area. Unfortunately, something has happened. And I will say that we accept that there are enormous challenges for the government and the security agencies. And we accept the fact that they did very well on that Saturday. They did very well on that Saturday. They were quite there on the scene. They did everything that they could do to stop it. It was something that we did together, and we must accept that they did very well. But let me say that at this situation, or in this situation that we are now, the truth is that even if we are going, of course, we must go for forgiveness, we must go for genuine reconciliation, but justice must be done first to all the victims of this conflict. Justice must be done to the various communities that live around that area. Justice must be done to see that a deterrence measure have put in place so that such things will not occur again.
All right.
This is are basically our demands for now. And we are ready. JNI and the Muslim Ummah are both responsible and responsive, communities or bodies. And we will continue to support whatever measures the government and, all other stakeholders are putting in place. We've been part of all the security architecture in Plateau State. We have been part of the community dialogues that are being held. We are part of the Interreligious Advisory Council that the government has put in place, and all these bodies seem to be working. But however, there are some people that are very stubborn, and that stubbornness, maybe, it's looking as if it's now some communities are appearing to be stubborn or more stubborn than others in this, and thereby thwarting all efforts to address these issues of conflict, bring about peace and reconciliation. And this must be, we must face this frankly and, and tell ourselves the truth that, you are stubborn people, and you must accept the fact that you must come to terms with the reality of our existence, the need to remain in peace with other communities. In the press conference we issued, we said multifaceted challenges of the Bassa crisis. There is one community that is having problem with almost every other community in that area. And these are facts that have been hidden for a long time. We have to come out and say, yes, why you as one community, why are you having problem with all other communities?
All right.
There are people, when people were rescued on Saturday, most of those that were initially rescued, the rescue effort were done by Christian members of those communities that are around that area. And we know them very well. We appreciate that. And that is to tell you that there are communities that believe in peaceful coexistence. There are communities that believe in the sanctity of life and protection of, lives. And they did that very well that day. Most of the Muslims that were brought out from that scene were brought out by members of those communities around that area that were not Muslims. And we appreciate that. So you can see that there is a level, there is a platform for collaboration and cooperation.
All right, Mr. Amudi, we'll come back to you, to clarify the fact that that particular community is always in conflict with other communities and why you think that is so. Let's get your reaction to what is happening in Plateau State. We've heard from Sani Mood there.
Yeah,
okay.
What's happening on the plateau is most unfortunate. This is something that has taken long, and we are not in any way happy with the happenings in Plateau and in Nigeria as a whole. I really feel pained and disturbed because what is really happening right now is not right. And as I heard my friend Sani Moody say, and calling the names of Irigwe and saying they are responsible, I feel so pained. And I want to state very clearly that what is happening is not alien to anybody. And what you know very well is that all these things have been happening. In fact, let me tell you, for the past 3 weeks, Irigwe people have been subjected to terrible torture, wicked disturbances, killings by these herdsmen. What happened on Saturday is totally condemnable. We, the Irigwe people, are not like that. And we are not cowards. It is very clear. We are not cowards. And I feel if today people were killed, sir, for the past 3 weeks, people were killed. Houses burned, crops hewn down, destroyed. And today, something happened.
So there are gaps in our security architecture. And these gaps, unfortunately, spread across the 36 states of the Federation, not just specific to Plateau. But there are a couple of factors that are specific to Plateau State. And unfortunately, the interview you had with the two, I would say, different communities earlier on has brought out these specific issues that are unique to the Plateau. One of them is what I have referred in the several publications that I have done, the breakdown of social order. Sociologists can talk a lot about that, But social order is that fabric that holds society together. We agree as a people to live together, to respect each other, and promote the principles of tolerance, principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now, if we wake up one day as a society and throw away these 4 points of tolerance, diversity, equity, and inclusion, then unfortunately the result is what you would see. Now, put in the first factor that I mentioned, which is the gaps in the security architecture, then the result would be the massacre that unfortunately has been happening across several parts of the country, including the plateau. The trend, as well as the timeline of crisis in the plateau, time will not allow us in this program to go over that trend, that timeline. But one thing everybody knows who studies security in the plateau is clear. The social fabric, that social order that holds the community has broken down. And I must commend the current governor of the state in doing a lot in terms of his effort to rebuild that broken down social order. He has brought peace efforts. He has put in place platforms to encourage these people to live together. Because frankly, they are together. And so if they're together, they cannot kill each other. If they continue at the rate that they're going, then the result would be, massacre. Now, I'm not, by saying this, I am not absolving the security agents of responsibility. There is a social contract, and that contract says they must protect every member of that community, irrespective of his religion, irrespective of his tribe, and irrespective of what he wants to do, as long as he's a law-abiding member of that society. Where they fail to do that, then the onus is on them. In this instance, the instance that led to you gathering us today, it was commuters that were traveling from one part of the country through plateau to another country, irrespective of the circumstances. The fact that they were killed, that responsibility is on the security agencies. Now, who kills them, why the person killed them, is left for investigators to look into that and address it. But at the core of all of this is the broken down social order. And before I conclude, I want to give reasons why the social order has broken down. One of them is what I call hate messaging, which unfortunately several of us are responsible for, including unfortunately the media. When you generalize and label a particular group as responsible, then unfortunately what you are doing is you are aiding these types of occurrences. When, for instance, the security agencies fail to protect, then they are also responsible. When influencers like us, that appear on air personalities or, whatever we are, we appear on TV and use words that are generalized and that lead to stigmatization as well as ethnic or religious profiling, then we're also responsible. Perhaps in the course of the conversation, we can talk about what to do to reduce this occurrence. But unfortunately, as a security practitioner, I feel that our social order in Nigeria as a country, in certain parts of the country, has broken down completely, and we need to fix that.
My sympathies and condolences to the families of those who lost their lives. And I want to commend the governor of Plateau State and the people for their response plan, which is something that has managed the situation so far. And I want to also commend the restraint shown by the security services. And it is a sad thing for us to be debating on who is right and who is wrong when human beings are dead. For those of us in the security things from the outside, we might come in after the fact in this regard. But having said that, we still need to call on people on both sides to show a little bit of restraint. Don't jump to conclusion because you can cause more problems somebody before you even have the facts. But you see, in all of the things we've heard, from the presidency down to the governor to everybody else. We are all blaming people. We are all passing the buck. We are trying to blame people. Nobody's talking about how to fix the problem. We should look for solutions rather than try to blame people. It has already happened. And for me, I would rather that people do not die, rather than people die for us to go and fish out perpetrators. For what? What is the resources we are using to fish out perpetrators when we can use the same resources to ensure that people do not lose their lives? You see, I want to say this clearly. Violence is the language of people who are unheard. If you don't hear somebody and they are speaking to you, they are going to resort to violence at some point. Now, criminality is the language of those who are ignored. If you ignore a child and you do not give that child food to eat, the child will look for food and eat, and thus has become a criminal, a thief. So criminality is the language of those who are ignored, while violence is the language of those who are unheard. Now, frustration is the language of those who kill. When somebody is frustrated to a point, you've ignored the person, and the person is frustrated, no justice in anything, they will kill. So frustration is the language of those who kill. Now, complacency is the language of those who are well fed. And I see some people, because of positions they hold, because of the affiliations they have, they are complacent. When something happens, all they do is stay in their parlors and issue ultimatums and say all sorts of things. How do you go out and fish people? Are we fishermen? How do we do that? So you fish them out. How are you doing it? What is the tactical arrangement on the ground for you to get that done? We're talking from policy level, from the strategic level. There is no plan. And like I said, I commend the governor of Plateau State for what he has done. The curfew alone was enough. And all that we are saying right now, we are saying after the fact. We should look for the reason why this is happening in the first place and nip it in the bud. Nip that, and all of this will stop. There is no reason. I mean, the Constitution is very clear. The government is in charge of your security and not of your defense. Self-defense is your business. You will defend yourself first before the government will provide the security that you need. We build houses and we put fences around it. That means you're defending yourself. You don't build a good house, put your properties inside, and you don't have a fence, you don't have a gate. Defend yourself. Self-defense is your right. It is government's place to provide security. And that's what the Constitution says. The primary responsibility of the president is security and welfare, not defense. Do your defense. Get yourself organized. Be ready to beat back anything that comes at you, and do it within the ambits of the law. And then the government will provide the security. There are so many, I don't know whether Nigerians know this, there are so many ungoverned spaces, unpoliced spaces in Nigeria. And when we talk about a community, we are thinking that that community is like a city where we all live in. No, they don't work like that. It is not that easy to police these places. So self-defense is number one priority. And then the government will provide the security that you need. And, you know, it's a sad thing. I was on a program one day and I heard somebody comparing the number of people who died in a particular government to the other people who died in a particular government. We are comparing dead people now. The number of people who have died is what we are comparing. Why can't we compare the number of births, the number of people who have made money, who are millionaires, who are employed? We are still talking about people who are being killed. We're still trying to find solutions to people who are being killed. We should have the solution by now. Maybe at the course of this discussion, we will move away from trying to point fingers, trying to say who did this or didn't do that too. Why did it happen? How do we ensure that it does not happen again? When you look at the situation in the country right now, people are hungry. People are unhappy. And like I said, frustration is the language of those who kill. People are frustrated. You shouldn't be focused on one community. We shouldn't be focusing on another religion, or we are focusing on ethnicity. So when this one dies, we are very, very sure that that is it. Justice, give justice to people. When I was in charge of a program, they told me that it was unemployment that drove people to go and join Boko Haram. And when we did the analysis on the ground, we found out that it was injustice. Injustice drove these people to join, most of them. And it had nothing to do with unemployment. Now we have teeming youths all over the place. What are the programs that are being put in place to ensure that people are not just fed today, but are going to be fed in the long term, in the long run? This government has only 2 years to go. Now, shouldn't we have a social program that takes care of Nigerian youths? When a young man listens and hears that somebody has run away with 1 billion naira and he cannot even feed himself, what do you expect him to do? I feel the government should start from the communities and institute social, not social development, social programs that will cater for the youths that are coming up. When you reach a particular stage in life, you are contented, whether you have all that you need or not. So the focus shouldn't be you. I told some elders in a particular community, you are contented and you're sitting down here and talking down on the youths and say they are in the streets doing drugs. When they finish doing whatever they are eating in the streets and it is exhausted, they are going to come to your houses and they're going to eat you raw. So the programs we are calling on, social programs at the grassroots level, they could be dealing with people's behavior, change in behavior, change in approach, entrepreneurship training, and then institute those things that they will connect to in order to have a good livelihood. There is nobody who works in a bank, is earning salary, who will be on the road killing people. When you are hungry, you look for something to eat. So mine would be, first of all, let's do what has been done in Nigeria before. Institute social programs in the grassroots, in the community. Start from there. We've already gone beyond trying to assuage people, trying to say, stop, stop, stop. It's going to continue happening. But the government has to take this stand and go back to the communities. Institute programs that engages the youth, engages the elders, engages people at the community level, first of all, and ensure you nip all this in the bud. Whenever something happens, we react.
Thanks for checking out SYMFONI on YouTube. Please be sure to subscribe and like our videos for updates.